Okay. The independent contractor agreement update as of April 14th, 2023, DoorDash contractors. And the country agreement describes the rules, restrictions, and obligations that govern your provision of services through the DoorDash platform. Contracted services as further described in Section 3 below. The agreement is between you, an independent contractor engaged in the business of performing the contracted services contractor, and the relevant DoorDash entity with whom you are entering this agreement, either as an individual sole proprietor or a corporate entity. The agreement will become effective on the date it is accepted, regardless of whether the contractor is eligible to or ever does perform any contracted services. Please review this agreement carefully. In particular, please review the mutual arbitration provision in Section 14, 25.1, 25.2, or 25.3 as applicable, as each requires the parties to resolve a dispute or an individual basis to the fullest extent permitted by law through final and binding arbitration, unless contractor validly opts out of arbitration as provided below. By accepting this agreement, contractor acknowledges that they have read and understood all of the terms, including Section 14, 25.1, 25.2, or 25.3 as applicable, and have taken the time and sought any assistance needed to comprehend the consequences of accepting this agreement. By accessing the DoorDash Dasher smartphone application, the Dasher app, contractor agrees to be bound by 1, this agreement, and 2, the DoorDasher privacy policy, the DoorDash consumer terms of service, and 4, the service provider platform access policy and the e-sign consent agreement. So we're going to have to kind of look at this real quick. So I'm going to pause my dash. Well, I guess I can't pause my dash. I can't start the dash until I've checked this out. So I guess, okay, recitals. DoorDash is a company that provides an online marketplace and services platform using web-based technology, including the Dasher app, that connects contractors. I should probably record this. God dang it. Of course, my fucking camera's not working. F is going on here? That's not good. Okay. The DoorDash platform enables individuals and businesses, consumers, to place orders for goods and services from restaurants and other businesses, merchants, and contractors. Once such orders are placed, the DoorDash platform notifies contractors that a contracted service opportunity, defined in Section 3.1 below, is available and facilitates completion of the contracted services. DoorDash is not a restaurant, food delivery service, or food preparation business. Wow. is not a food delivery service. Contract or food preparation business. That means I ain't getting your food ready. Contractor is an independent provider of contracted services authorized to conduct such services in the geographic locations in which they operate. Contractor possesses and/or controls all equipment and personnel necessary to perform the contracted services in accordance with applicable laws. Contractor desires to enter into this agreement for the opportunity to receive contracted service opportunities made available through the DoorDash platform. Contractor understands and expressly agrees that they are not an employee of DoorDash or any restaurant, other business, or individual using the DoorDash platform, and that they are performing contracted services on behalf of themselves and their business, not on behalf of DoorDash. Contractor understands that they are free to select the times they wish to be available on the DoorDash platform to receive contracted service opportunities. 2, they are free to negotiate their compensation by, among other things, accepting or rejecting the contracted service opportunities transmitted to the DoorDash platform, and can make such decisions to maximize their opportunity to profit. And they have the sole right to control the manner in which contracted services are performed and the means by which those contracted services are completed in accordance with applicable laws. In consideration of the above, as well as the mutual promises described herein, DoorDash and contractor collectively, the parties, agree as follows. Section 1, Purpose of the Agreement, 1.1. This agreement governs the relationship between DoorDash and contractor and establishes the parties' respective rights and obligations. In exchange for the promises contained in this agreement, contractor will have the opportunity to receive contracted service opportunities through the DoorDash platform, and contractor agrees to perform the contracted services for any contracted service opportunities they choose to accept. However, nothing in this agreement requires the contractor to perform any particular volume of contracted services, and nothing in this agreement guarantees contractor will receive any volume of contracted service opportunities or other business through the DoorDash platform. Section 1.2. Contractor is not obligated to accept or perform any particular contracted service opportunity offered through the DoorDash platform. However, once a contracted service opportunity is accepted, contractor shall be contractually bound to complete the contracted services in accordance with all consumer and merchant specifications and the terms laid out in this agreement. Number 2, contractor's operations. 2.1, contractor represents that they operate an independently established enterprise that provides services and that they satisfy all legal requirements and have all necessary licenses and permits necessary to perform the contracted services. As an independent enterprise, contractor is solely responsible for determining how to operate their business and how to perform the contracted services. 2.2, contractor agrees that all information they provide to DoorDash or through the DoorDash platform will be true and accurate, and they will promptly inform DoorDash if any information requires updating. 2.3, contractor agrees to fully perform the contracted services in a timely, efficient, safe, and lawful manner. DoorDash has no right to and shall not control the manner, method, or means the contractor uses to perform the contracted services. Instead, the contractor shall be solely responsible for determining the most effective, efficient, and safe manner to perform the contracted services, including, as applicable, determining the manner of pickup, shopping, delivery, and route selection. As an independent business enterprise, contractor retains the right to perform services, whether services similar to the contracted services or other services, with or for other businesses and or other consumers, and contractor represents that they advertise and hold themselves out to the general public as a separately established business. The parties recognize that they are or may be engaged in similar arrangements with other businesses to supply services similar or identical to the contracted services, and nothing in this agreement prevents contractor or DoorDash from doing business with others. DoorDash does not have the right to restrict contractor from performing services for contractor's own business, other businesses, consumers, or any other third party at any time, even if such business directly competes with DoorDash, and even during the time contractor is logged onto the DoorDash platform, so long as performing such services does not otherwise violate this agreement. Contractor's right to compete with DoorDash or perform services for businesses that compete with DoorDash will survive even after termination of this agreement. 2.5. Contractor is not required to purchase, lease, or rent any products, equipment, or services from DoorDash as a condition of doing business with DoorDash or entering into this agreement. 2.6. Contractor agrees to immediately notify DoorDash in writing at help.doordash.com if the contractor's right to control the manner or method that they use to perform contracted services differs from the terms contemplated in this section. 2.7. When signing up to be a user of the DoorDash platform, contractor's information will be used to create an account. Contractor may not create multiple Dasher accounts. 2.8. By entering this agreement, contractor also agrees to be bound by the DoorDash consumer terms of service, and that any breach of the DoorDash consumer terms of service will be considered a breach of this agreement. However, to the extent that this agreement and the DoorDash consumer terms of service conflict, the terms of this agreement will take precedence. 2.9. The contractor also acknowledges that contractor may be offered opportunities to perform contracted services through the DoorDash platform by entities other than DoorDash, and that additional items and conditions may apply to those opportunities. To the extent that any such terms and conditions conflict with this agreement, the terms of this agreement will take precedence. 2.10. Contractor acknowledges that when engaging with the DoorDash platform on a mobile device, data usage rates may apply. 2.11. To prevent unauthorized access to contractor's account and to prevent unauthorized use of the personal information as defined in Section 5.1 and the DoorDash platform, contractor agrees to protect and keep confidential all personal information and their email, phone number, password, and or other means of accessing their account via the DoorDash platform by implementing appropriate technical and organizational measures. Contractor acknowledges that unauthorized use of contractor's account, email, phone number, password, or other means of accessing their account could lead to financial loss and access to contractor's sensitive personal and account information. If the contractor discloses or otherwise allows to be made known their account information, user ID, password, or other means of accessing their account to any person or entity, contractor assumes all risks and losses associated with such disclosure. If contractor believes some may attempt to use or has accessed contractor's account without contractor's permission, or that any other unauthorized use or security breach has occurred, contractor agrees to immediately notify DoorDash at help.doordash.com. 2.12. Contractors shall at all times ensure that they use the most up-to-date version of the Dasher app available, have a mobile device capable of reliably running the most up-to-date version of the Dasher app, and not intentionally block or attempt to bypass any automatic Dasher app updates. 2.13. From time to time, DoorDash may invite contractors to participate in sessions to test new features or services within or related to the DoorDash platform. Contractors shall keep confidential all information learned or obtained during such sessions and shall not disclose such information to anyone without DoorDash's express written consent. Section 3. Contracted services. From time to time, the DoorDash platform may notify contractor of the opportunity to perform contracted services in accordance with orders placed by consumers or merchants through the DoorDash platform, each contracted service opportunity. Contractor agrees that by logging into the Dasher app and starting a Dash, contractor is making themselves available to receive contracted service opportunities, which contractor may accept or reject. For each contracted service opportunity accepted by contractor that involves picking up one or more items from one or more merchants and delivering the items to one more consumers, a delivery service opportunity, contractor agrees to 1. Proceed to the applicable merchants, retrieve the items in a safe and timely fashion, ensure the delivery service opportunity is accurately performed according to the instructions, specifications, or guidelines of the customer merchant or any other party requesting the service, and 4. Complete delivery of the items to the consumers in a safe and timely fashion without taking any action that would change the quality or presentation of the items, and while adhering to reasonable expectations of food safety, quality, and health standards as required by the merchant and or applicable law. A delivery service opportunity is considered complete when all items have been delivered to the consumers, or when applicable, placed in a designated area as instructed by the consumers. In addition to any other task required for completion of the delivery service opportunity as specified by the consumers and/or merchants, contractor agrees to timely mark each delivery service opportunity as completed in the Dasher app upon completion. If the consumer is not available, the contractor agrees that the delivery service opportunity will be considered complete only if contractor both 1. Makes reasonable efforts to contact the consumer and wait a reasonable time for the consumer to accept the item by following the applicable flow in the Dasher app, and 2. Either leave the item at the consumer location or returns the items if a return is required for a given delivery service opportunity, as indicated at the time of the delivery service opportunity is offered. Under no circumstances may a contractor take the items. 3.3. To the extent a delivery service opportunity requires contractor to select items from a merchant store prior to delivery, shop and deliver, contractor acknowledges that additional items may be added after contractor has accepted the delivery service opportunity through the platform. Contractor may opt out of receiving shop and deliver contracted service opportunities by contacting DoorDash support at help.doordash.com. 3.4. Contractor understands and agrees that the parameters of each contracted service opportunity are established by the consumer and/or merchant, not DoorDash, and represent the end result desired, not the means by which contractor is to accomplish the result. Contractor has the right to cancel a contracted service when, in the exercise of contractor's reasonable discretion and business judgment, it is appropriate to do so. Notwithstanding the foregoing, contractor agrees to maintain both a customer rating and a completion rate found here as of the date this agreement becomes effective. Failure to satisfy this obligation constitutes a material breach of this agreement, and in such case, DoorDash shall have the right to terminate this agreement and/or deactivate the contractor's account. Contractors shall not attempt to induce or persuade a consumer or merchant to cancel any contracted service. 3.5. Contractor acknowledges the DoorDash has decision as to which, if any, contracted service opportunities to present to contractor, just as contractor has the discretion whether to accept any contracted service opportunity. 3.6. Contractor warrants the contractor is engaged in contractor's own business, separate and apart from DoorDash's business, which is to provide the DoorDash platform. 3.7. Contractor authorizes DoorDash during the course of any contractual service to communicate with the contractor, the consumers, and the merchants, and/or facilitate direct communication between contractor and consumers and/or merchants, to the extent permitted by contractor, for the purposes of assisting contractor in their performance of the contracted service. Under no circumstance, however, shall DoorDash be authorized to control the manner or means by which contractor performs contracted services. This includes, but is not limited to, the following. A. DoorDash does not require any specific type or quality of contractor's choice of transportation. B. Contractor does not have a supervisor or any individual at DoorDash to whom they report. C. Contractor is not required to use any signage or other designation of DoorDash on their vehicle or person at any point in their performance of the contracted service. DoorDash has no control over contractor's personal appearance. E. Contractor does not receive performance evaluations by DoorDash. 3.8. Contractor may use whatever payment method they choose to purchase items to be delivered to consumers, including but not limited to contractor's personal credit or debit card, cash, or a card prepaid by DoorDash. Contractor may use, for contractor's convenience, the prepaid card solely for purchasing items to be delivered to consumers. If contractor uses their personal credit or debit card or cash, contractors shall notify DoorDash by submitting a support inquiry through help.doordash.com, and DoorDash will reimburse contractor. 3.9. In the event contractor fails to fully perform any contracted service consistent with the parameters established by the consumer and/or merchant or this agreement, including the relevant contracted service addendum, a service failure, contractor shall forfeit all or part of the agreed upon fee for that service. If contractor disputes responsibility for a service failure, the dispute shall be resolved pursuant to the payment disputes provision below. 3.10. Contractor shall comply with all applicable DoorDash policies and guidelines as may be published or communicated to contractor from time to time, including the delivery alcohol guidelines and the delivery tobacco guidelines. 3.11 Contractor agrees to immediately notify DoorDash in writing by submitting a support inquiry through help.doordash.com if contractor services or scope of work differ in any way from what is contemplated in this Section 3. Content. 4. Parts of the DoorDash platform enable contractor to provide feedback, text, photos, audio, video, information, and other content to DoorDash, collectively content. By providing content in whatever form and through whatever means contractor agrees to the DoorDash content and likeness consent release and grants DoorDash a non-exclusive worldwide royalty-free, irrevocable, perpetual, sub-licensable, and transferable license to copy, modify, prepare, derivative works of, distribute, publish, and otherwise exploit. Wow, that content without limitation. To the extent permitted by law, contractor waives its moral rights as defined under applicable law with respect to any content contractor creates or contributes, and contractor unconditionally and irrevocably consents to DoorDash and all persons authorized by DoorDash. 1. Exercise any of the rights of an owner of copyright in the content without attribution to contractor as the author or by attributing ownership to another person. And 2. To using, reproducing, dealing with, modifying, doing, or omitting to do anything which would infringe or breach contractor's moral rights in the content. Contractor irrevocably waives and agrees not to enforce any moral rights they may have in the content. If content includes personal information, DoorDash's Dasher privacy policy describes how DoorDash uses that personal information. Where DoorDash pays for the creation of content or facilitates its creation, DoorDash may own that content, in which case supplemental terms or disclosures will say that contractor is solely responsible for all content that contractor provides and warrants that contractor either owns it or is authorized to grant DoorDash the rights described in this agreement. Contractor is responsible and liable if any of the contractor's content violates or infringes the intellectual property or privacy rights of any third party. Content that is, among other things, discriminatory, obscene, harassing, deceptive, violent, or illegal is prohibited, and content must comply with all applicable DoorDash policies, including, but not limited to, the DoorDash social media guidelines. Contractor agrees that DoorDash may make available services or automated tools to translate content, and that contractor's content may be translated using such service or tools. Man, there's a lot of other stuff in there. Number 5, privacy of personal information. 5.1, contractor may only process personal information as that term is defined under applicable privacy laws obtained in connection with the contracted services. Personal information in compliance with the terms of this agreement and only for the limited and specified business purpose of providing in the contracted service. Contractor shall comply with the applicable privacy laws and provide the level of privacy protection for personal information as is required by those laws. Contractors shall not sell or share personal information. Contractors shall not retain, use, or disclose personal information for any purpose other than the business purpose of providing the contracted service or outside of the direct business relationship between DoorDash and the contractor, or B, combine personal information received in connection with the contracted services with personal information received from or on behalf of another person or persons or collected from contractor's own interactions with individuals, unless permitted by applicable privacy laws. Contractor certifies that they understand and will comply with these requirements and restrictions. 5.2. Contractor shall process personal information only for the duration of this agreement or until otherwise instructed by DoorDash. To the extent contractor maintains any personal information, contractor shall promptly delete a particular individual's personal information from contractor's records upon request by DoorDash. DoorDash may take any reasonable and appropriate steps to ensure that contractor uses personal information in a manner consistent with DoorDash's obligations. Under applicable privacy laws, contractor shall promptly notify DoorDash if at any time contractor determines that they can no longer meet their obligations pertaining to personal information or applicable privacy laws. Upon notice to contractor, DoorDash may take any reasonable or appropriate steps to stop the remediate the unauthorized use of the personal information. Upon DoorDash's reasonable request, contractors shall make available to DoorDash all information on contractors' possession necessary to demonstrate contractors' compliance with its obligations under this agreement and applicable privacy laws. DoorDash shall have the right to monitor contractors' compliance with this agreement, though any measures deemed appropriate by DoorDash. Contractors shall allow for and contribute to audits, including inspections conducted by DoorDash or other auditor designated by DoorDash. 6. Relationship of parties. The parties acknowledge and agree that the agreement is between two co-equal independent businesses enterprises that are separately owned and operated. The parties intend this agreement to create the relationship of principal and independent contractor and not that of employer and employee. The parties are not employees, agents, joint ventures, or partners of each other for any purpose. Wow. Neither party shall have the right to bind the other by contract or otherwise accept as specifically provided in this agreement. 6.2 DoorDash shall not have the right to and shall not control the manner of the method of accomplishing contracted services to be performed by contractor. The parties acknowledge and agree that those provisions of the agreement reserving ultimate authority in DoorDash have been inserted solely for the safety of the consumers, merchants, and other contractors using the DoorDash platform or to achieve compliance with federal, state, provincial, or local laws, regulations, and interpretations thereof. Wow. 6.3 DoorDash shall report all payments made to contractor on a calendar year basis using an appropriate IRS Form 1099 to form required under the law of Canada, New Zealand, or Australia, respectively, if the volume of payments to contractor qualifies for such reporting. Contractor agrees to report all such payments and any cash gratuities to the appropriate federal, provincial, and local tax authorities as required by law. Where required by law, contractor understands and agrees to remit all required payments to the appropriate federal, provincial, and local tax authorities. Payment for services. 7.1. Unless a different rate of pay is negotiated or contractor is notified otherwise by DoorDash in writing or except as provided herein, contractor will receive payment for all contracted services fully performed in an amount consistent with DoorDash's publicly provided pay model, which can be viewed here. DoorDash reserves the right to adjust or withhold all or portion of payment owed to contractor if DoorDash reasonably believes that contractor has defrauded or abused or attempted to defraud or abuse the DoorDash platform. From time to time, contractor may be offered opportunities to earn more money by performing contracted services at specified times or in a specified locations. Nothing prevents the parties from negotiating a different rate of pay, and contractor is free to accept or reject any such opportunities to be paid at different rates. 7.2 DoorDash's online credit card software may permit consumers to add a gratuity to be paid to contractor, and consumers can also pay a gratuity to contractor in cash. Contractor shall retain 100% of any gratuity paid by the consumer to DoorDash. Whether by cash or credit card, DoorDash acknowledges it has no right to interfere with the amount of gratuity given by the consumer to contractor. 7.3 For purchases that involve consumer or merchant payment via the DoorDash platform, DoorDash will process payments made by such consumers or merchants and transmit applicable payment for the contracted service to contractor. Contractor can view their available payment options and their applicable terms and eligibility restrictions here. By electing to use FastPay or Dasher Direct, contractor agrees to be bound by all applicable terms and conditions. Contractor is responsible for verifying the accuracy of their bank account and or debit card information to receive timely payments. DoorDash is not responsible for lost or late payments due to incorrect routing and or account information. 7.4 By agreeing to any separate contract with a third party to process payments owed under the agreement to contractor, contractor agrees that DoorDash shall discharge its payment obligations to contractor by funding the amounts payable and directing the third party processor to pay such funded amounts to contractor. After DoorDash funds and directs payment, any failure or refusal by the third party processor to issue payment to Contractor shall be the responsibility of contractor to resolve. 7.5. From time to time, DoorDash may offer contractor cash-based contracted service opportunities. The order subtotal and contractor earnings from such cash-based contracted service opportunities will be deducted from the contractor's earnings balance in the DoorDash platform, and contractor will keep the cash provided by the consumer or merchant. Contractor is responsible for tracking, reporting, and paying appropriate taxes on all tips received from cash-based contracted service opportunities. 7.6. Notwithstanding the terms of sections 7.1 to 7.3, consumer orders placed directly with merchants rather than through the DoorDash platforms or www.doordash.com, fulfillment orders may be subject to a different payment model. More information regarding fulfillment orders may be found here. Nothing prevents the parties from negotiating a different rate of pay for a fulfillment order, and contractor is free to accept or reject fulfillment order contracted services opportunities. DoorDash will pass through 100% of any gratuity it receives from the merchant's consumer for a fulfillment order to contractor. DoorDash's and or merchants software may not always include an option to add gratuity for fulfillment orders. However, consumers can pay gratuity to contractor in cash. 7.7. From the time to time, DoorDash may offer various promotions or referral programs. Contractor agrees that they will not manipulate or abuse any such promotion or referral programs by, among other things, tampering with the location feature on their mobile phone, collecting incentive or promotional pay when not eligible to receive such pay under relevant policies. C. Creating multiple contractor or consumer accounts. Contractor understands that engaging in this type of manipulation or abuse constitutes a material breach of this agreement and may lead to deactivation of their account. Payment disputes. 8.1. Contractor's failure. In the event there is a service failure, contractors shall not be entitled to payment as described above, as determined in DoorDash's reasonable discretion. Any withholding of payment shall be based upon evidence provided by the consumer, merchant, contractor, and any other party with information relevant to the dispute. DoorDash shall make the initial determination as to whether a service failure was the result of a contractor's action or omission. Contractor shall have the right to challenge DoorDash's determination through any legal means contemplated by this agreement. However, contractor shall first notify DoorDash in writing at help.doordash.com of the challenge and provide DoorDash the opportunity to resolve the dispute. Contractor should include any documents or other information in support of their challenge. 8.2. DoorDash's failure. In the event DoorDash fails to remit payment in a timely or accurate manner except as provided in section 7.5, contractors shall have the right to seek proper payment by any legal means contemplated by this agreement, and should contractor prevail, shall be entitled to recover reasonable costs incurred in pursuing proper payment provided. However, contractors shall first inform DoorDash in writing at help.doordash.com of the failure and provide DoorDash a reasonable opportunity to cure it. Number 9, equipment and expenses. 9.1, contractor represents that they have or will lawfully acquire all equipment, including vehicles and food thermal bags, necessary to perform contracted services, and contractor is solely responsible for ensuring that the vehicles used to perform contracted services conforms to all vehicle laws pertaining to registration, safety, equipment inspection, and operational capability. 9.2, contractor agrees that they are responsible for all costs and expenses arising from their performance of contracted services, including but not limited to costs related to contractor's personnel, defined below, and equipment. Typical expenses may include, but are not limited to, vehicle maintenance, gas, traffic fines or penalties, parking fees, and mobile device costs and fees, including applicable text messaging or data rates determined by contractor's carrier, except as otherwise required by law. Contractor assumes all risk of damage or loss to their equipment. Personnel. 10.1. In order to perform any contracted service, contractor must, for the safety of the DoorDash platform, pass a background check and identify verification administered by third-party vendors, subject to contractor's lawful consent. Contractor is not required to perform any contracted services personally, but may, to the extent permitted by law and subject to the terms of this agreement, hire or engage others as employees or subcontractors of contractor to perform all of or some of the contracted services collectively personnel, provided any such personnel meet all the requirements applicable to contractor, including but not limited to entering into a written contract between contractor and such other party, accepting the terms of this agreement, separately completing the process to receive contracted service opportunities, and being eligible to provide the contracted services in the applicable geographic location. To the extent contractor utilizes their own personnel in the performance of contracted services, contractor shall be solely responsible for the direction and control of all such personnel. 10.2 Contractor assumes full and sole responsibility for the payment of all amounts due to their personnel for work performed in relation to this agreement, including all wages, benefits, holiday pay, and expenses, if any, and for all required state, provincial, and federal income tax withholdings, applicable goods and services, taxes, GST, insurance, duties and levies, unemployment insurance, contributions, and Social Security taxes as to contractor and all contractor personnel in the performance of contracted services. DoorDash is not an employer or joint employer of contractor personnel and shall have no responsibility for any wages, benefits, expenses, or any payment due to contractor personnel, nor for income tax withholding, Social Security, unemployment insurance, contributions, or other payroll taxes relating to contractor or other personnel. Neither contractor nor their personnel shall receive any wages, including vacation pay or holiday pay, from DoorDash, nor shall they participate in or receive any other benefits, if any, available to DoorDash's employees. 10.3 Unless mandated by law, DoorDash shall have no authority to withhold state, provincial, or federal income taxes, Social Security taxes, unemployment insurance taxes, contributions, or any other local, state, provincial, or federal tax on behalf of the contractor or their personnel. 10.4 Contractor and their personnel shall not be required to wear a uniform or other clothing of any type bearing DoorDash's name or logo. 10.5 If contractor uses the services of any personnel to perform the contracted services, contractor's personnel must safely and satisfy and comply with all of the terms of this agreement, which contractor must make enforceable by written agreement between contractor and such personnel. A copy of such written agreement must be provided to DoorDash at least 7 days in advance of such personnel performing the contracted services, and contractor must notify DoorDash when the personnel will be performing contracted services. The parties acknowledge that the sole purpose of this requirement is to ensure contractors' compliance with the terms of this agreement. 11. Insurance. 11.1 Contractors shall at all times during the term of this agreement maintain current insurance in amounts and of types required by law to provide the contracted services and cover contractor during performance of the contracted services at their own expense. Contractor acknowledges that failure to secure or maintain satisfactory insurance coverage shall be deemed a material breach of this agreement and grounds for termination of the agreement and the loss of contractor's right to receive contracted service opportunities. 11.2 Notification of coverage. Contractor agrees to deliver to DoorDash upon request current certificates of insurance as proof of coverage. Contractor agrees to provide updated certificates each time contractor purchases, renews, or alters contractor's insurance coverages. Contractor agrees to give DoorDash at least 30 days prior written notice before cancellation of any insurance policy required by this agreement. Workers' compensation, occupational accident insurance. Contractor agrees that contractor will maintain sufficient insurance to cover any risks or claims arising out of or related to contractor's relationship with DoorDash, including workers' compensation insurance. Where required by law, contractor acknowledges and understands that unless otherwise required by law, contractor will not be eligible for workers' compensation benefits through DoorDash and is instead responsible for maintaining their own workers' compensation insurance or occupational accident insurance. Contractors' maintenance of their own workers' compensation insurance or occupational accident insurance will not disqualify contractor from participating in the occupational accidents insurance policy for Dashers which DoorDash may make available to the contractor. 12.1. By executing this agreement, contractor expressly agrees A, to accept and receive communications from or on behalf of DoorDash and its corporate affiliates, merchants, partners, or other third parties providing services to contractor, or to or on behalf of DoorDash, including communications via email, SMS/text message, direct message, chat, calls, and push notifications to the contact information that contractor provides in connection with contractor's relationship or interaction with DoorDash and or its corporate affiliates, and B, that SMS/text messages and calls, including pre-recorded automated message calls, may be delivered to contractor's phone or device, including via an automatic telephone dialing system. The communication may include, without limitation, commercial or marketing messages, transactional or relationship messages, for example, messages about contracted services, security, responses to communications initiated by contractor, earnings for contracted services, updates to policies, legal agreements, for example, privacy policies, terms of service, newsletters, research, and customer support. The communications may be sent regardless of whether contractor has performed any contracted services. For example, if contractor has started but not completed signing up to be a contractor. Contractor acknowledges that receiving commercial or marketing messages, for example, emails, SMS/text messages, push notifications, or calls, is not a requirement or condition for contractor to perform or engage in the contracted services. Message and data rates may apply, and message frequency may vary. If there are any changes to contractor's contact information, for example, email address, phone number, contractor agrees to update contractor's account to help prevent or limit DoorDash inadvertently communicating with someone else. 12.2. The opt-out option for communications are set out below. If contractor opts out of receiving communications via one channel, for example, email, SMS/text messages, that opt-out will only apply to the specific channel for which the opt-out is submitted. For example, the contractor opts out of receiving email communications, it will not apply to SMS/text messages that DoorDash may send. Please see the following for more information. A. For email communications that permit an opt-out, for example, commercial marketing messages, there is an opt-out mechanism in the messages. For certain transactional or relationship email messages about contracted services, security responses, or to communications initiated by a contractor, earnings for contracted services, updates to policies, legal agreements, for example, privacy policies, terms of service, and the only opt-out option is to delete contractor's account. B. For SMS/text messaging, contractor can opt out of receiving all non-transactional SMS/text messaging, for example, commercial marketing messages from DoorDash by replying stop to a message or sending stop to 87424. To opt out of transactional SMS/text messages, the only option is to delete contractor's account. If contractor opts out, DoorDash may send a one-time SMS/text message confirming the opt-out. C. For phone calls, contractor can submit a request to be added to DoorDash's internal Do Not Call list by making the request during the call or contacting DoorDash support at help.doordash.com. D. For promotional push notifications, contractor can toggle or slide off these notifications in the Dasher app. 12.3. For support or help, contractor can contact DoorDash support at help.doordash.com. For more information about DoorDash's practices, contact information, and opt-out options, contractor may review the DoorDash privacy policy. 13. Indemnity. I'm not sure what that word even means. DoorDash agrees to indemnify, protect, and hold harmless contractor from any and all claims, demands, damages, suits, losses, liabilities, and causes of action arising directly from DoorDash's actions, offering and facilitating the contracted services to contractor. 13.2. Contractor agrees to indemnify, protect, and hold harmless DoorDash, including all parent, subsidiary, and or affiliated companies, as well as its and their past and present successors, assigns officers, owners, directors, agents, representatives, attorneys, and employees from any and all claims, demands, damages, suits, losses, liabilities, and causes of action arising directly or indirectly from, as a result of, or in connection with the actions of contractors and or their personnel arising from the performance of contracted services under this agreement, including personal injury or death to any persons, including to contractor and or their personnel, as well as any liability arising from contractor's failure to comply with the terms of this agreement. Contractor's obligations hereunder shall include the cost of defense, including attorney's fees, as well as the payment of any final judgment rendered against or settlement agreed upon by DoorDash or its parent, subsidiary, and or affiliate companies. 13.3 Contractor agrees to identify, protect, and hold harmless DoorDash, including all parent, subsidiary, and or affiliated companies, as well as its and their past and present successors, assigns officers, owners, directors, agents, representatives, attorneys, and employees from any and all tax liabilities and responsibilities for payment of all federal, state, provincial, and local taxes, including but not limited to all payroll taxes, self-employment taxes, workers' compensation premiums, and any contributions imposed or required under federal, state, provincial, and local laws with respect to contractor and contractor personnel. 13.4 Contractors shall be responsible for, identify, and hold harmless DoorDash, including all parent, subsidiary, and or affiliated companies, as well as its and their past and present successors, assigns officers, owners, directors, agents, representatives, attorneys, and employees from all costs of contractors' business, including but not limited to the expense and responsibility for any and all applicable insurance, local, state, provincial, or federal licenses, permits, taxes, and assessments of any kind, and all regulatory agencies, boards, or municipalities. Section 14. Mutual arbitration provision. Contractor and DoorDash mutually agreed to this mutual arbitration provision, which is governed by the Federal Arbitration Act and shall apply to any and all disputes arising out of the relating to this agreement, including but not limited to contractor's classification as an independent contractor, contractor's provision of contracted services to consumers, merchants, or other individuals or businesses, the payments received by contractor for providing services to consumers, merchants, or other individuals or businesses, the termination of this agreement, and all other aspects of contractor's relationship with DoorDash, past, present, or future, whether arising under federal, state, or local, statutory, and or common law, including without limitation, harassment, discrimination, or retaliation claims, and claims arising under the related to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, or its state or local equivalents, Americans with Disabilities Act or its state or local equivalents, Age Discrimination in Employment Act or its state or local equivalents, Family Medical Leave Act or its state or local equivalents, Federal Credit Reporting Act or its state or local equivalents, Telephone Consumer Protection Act, Fair Labor Standards Act, state and local wage and hour laws, state and local statutes on regulations addressing the same or similar subject matters, and all other federal, state, or local claims arising out of or relating to contractor's relationship or the termination of the relationship with DoorDash. This mutual arbitration provision extends to disputes between contractor and any DoorDash affiliates, subsidiaries, successors, agents, and employees that arise out of or relate to this agreement. This mutual arbitration provision does not apply to any claims that cannot be arbitrated under applicable law, after accounting for FAA preemption. To the extent, I don't know what FAA preemption is. To the extent the parties have related arbitrable and non-arbitrable disputes, the arbitrable disputes shall proceed first in arbitration, and the non-arbitrable disputes shall be stayed, and any application statutes of limitations told pending completion of the arbitration. The parties expressly agree that the agreement shall be governed by the FAA, even in the event contractor and or DoorDash or otherwise exempted from the FAA. Any disputes regarding the FAA's application shall be resolved exclusively by an arbitrator. If for any reason the FAA does not apply, the state law governing arbitration agreements in the state in which contractor has performed the majority of contracted services shall apply. or if contractor has not performed any contracted services, the state law governing arbitration agreements in the state in which contractor's primary residence is located shall apply. 14.2 Contractor and DoorDash agree that good faith and formal efforts to resolve disputes often can result in a prompt, low cost, and mutually beneficial outcome. Contractor and DoorDash therefore agree that before either contractor or DoorDash demands arbitration against the other, we will personally meet and confer via telephone or video conference in a good faith effort to resolve informally any claim covered by this mutual arbitration provision. For sake of clarification only, the individual dispute resolution conferences shall be individualized such that a separate conference must be held each time either party intends to commence individual arbitration. Multiple individuals initiating claims cannot participate in the same informal telephonic dispute resolution conference unless mutually agreed to by the parties. If contractor is represented by counsel, contractor's counsel may participate in the conference, but contractor shall also fully participate in the conference. The party initiating the claim must give notice to the other party in writing of their intent to initiate an informal dispute resolution conference, which shall occur within 60 days after the other party receives such notice, unless an extension is mutually agreed upon by the parties, to notify DoorDash that contractor intends to initiate an informal dispute resolution conference. Email dasher.informal.resolution@doordash.com, providing contractor's name, the telephone number associated with the contractor's Dasher app account, if any, the email address associated with the contractor's Dasher app account, and discretion of contractor's claims. We may then send contractor an informal dispute resolution conference request form, which contractor must fill out completely to initiate the informal dispute resolution conference. If DoorDash intends to initiate an informal dispute resolution conference, DoorDash shall do so by emailing the email address associated with contractor's Dasher app account and providing a description of DoorDash's claims. In the interval between the party receiving such notice and the informal dispute resolution conference, the parties shall be free to attempt to resolve the initiating party's claims. Engaging in an informal dispute resolution conference is a requirement that must be fulfilled before commencing arbitration, and the arbitrator shall dismiss any arbitration filed without fully and completely complying with these informal dispute resolution procedures. If an arbitration is dismissed because a party failed to comply with these informal dispute resolution procedures, the parties agree that the party that failed to comply with the informal dispute resolution procedures shall be responsible for paying any arbitration filing fees and costs incurred by the other party. The statute of limitations and any filing fee deadline shall be toiled while the parties engage in the informal dispute resolution process required by this paragraph. 14.3. If, following the informal resolution process, either contractor or DoorDash wishes to initiate arbitration, the initiating party must notify the other party in writing via certified mail, return receipt requested, or hand delivery within the applicable statute of limitations period. This demand for arbitration must include the name and address of the party seeking arbitration. 2. The statement of the legal and factual basis of the claim. 3. A description of the remedy sought. 4. The amount in controversy. And 5. The personal signature of the party seeking arbitration. Any demand for arbitration by contractor must be delivered to the counsel who represented DoorDash in the informal resolution process, or if there was no such counsel, then to General Counsel, 303 2nd Street, South Tower, Suite 800, San Francisco, California, 94107. 14.4 Arbitration Class Action Waiver. Contractor and DoorDash mutually agree that by entering into this agreement to arbitrate, both waive their right to have any dispute or claim brought, heard, or arbitrated as, or to participate in a class action, collective action, and or representative action, including but not limited to actions brought pursuant to the Private Attorney General Act, California Labor Code Section 2699, and any request seeking a public injunction, arbitration, class action waiver. Contractor and DoorDash agree that any dispute or claim shall be resolved in arbitration or any individual basis only, whether contractor has been personally aggrieved or subject to any violations of law. and that any such proceeding may not be used to resolve the claims or rights of other individuals, for example, to resolve whether other individuals have been aggrieved or subject to any violations of laws. Further, any dispute or claim belonging to the contractor for the benefit of the contractor or seeking relief owed to contractor brought by anyone, including but not limited to claims by government entities or officials for restitution, shall be resolved in arbitration on an individual basis only. If provision, portion, or application of this arbitration class action waiver is found to be unenforceable or unlawful for any reason, the unenforceable provision, portion, or application shall be severed from this agreement. Severance of the unenforceable provision, portion, or application shall have no impact on the mutual arbitration provision, including the provision, portion, or application of the arbitration class action waiver that remains valid, or the parties' attempts to arbitrate any remaining claims on an individual basis under the mutual arbitration provision, including the provision, portion, or application of the arbitration class action waiver that remains valid. And 3, the class, collective, or representative action brought on behalf of other individuals must be litigated in a civil court of competent jurisdiction and not in arbitration. The parties intend that this agreement achieve the same result as in Viking River Cruises Incorporated versus Mariana 142, 1906, 1925, and 2022, that individual PAGA claims be decided in individual arbitration, and that to the extent the arbitration class action waiver is invalid in whole or in part, non-individual PAGA claims subsequently be decided by a court of competent jurisdiction to the extent that the plaintiff has standing to maintain such a claim, notwithstanding any other clause contained in this agreement or the NAM rules as defined below. Any claim that all or part of this arbitration class action waiver is unenforceable, unconscionable, void, or voidable may be determined only by a court of competent jurisdiction and not by an arbitrator. All other disputes with respect to whether this mutual arbitration provision is unenforceable, unconscionable, applicable, valid, void, or voidable, and all disputes regarding the payment of arbitrator or arbitration organization fees, including the timing of such payments and remedies for non-payment, shall be determined exclusively by an arbitrator and not by any court. For sake of clarification only, nothing in this paragraph shall be constructed to prohibit settlements on class-wide, collective, and or representative basis. 14.5 Contractor agrees and acknowledges that entering into this mutual arbitration provision does not change contractor's status as an independent contractor. In fact, and in law, that contractor is not an employee of DoorDash or any consumer or merchant, and that any disputes in this regard shall be subject to arbitration as provided in this agreement. Any arbitration shall be governed by the National Arbitration and Mediation (NAM) comprehensive rules and procedures, and when applicable, the National Arbitration and Mediation Supplemental Rules for Mass Arbitration Filings, together the NAM rules except as follows. 14.6a. The arbitration shall be heard by one arbitrator. The arbitrator, selected in accordance with the NAM rules. The arbitrator shall be an attorney with experience in the law underlying the dispute. B. If the parties cannot otherwise agree on a location for the arbitration shall take place within 45 miles of contractor's residence as of the effective date of this agreement. C. NAM's fee schedule will apply with the following exceptions unless applicable law provides otherwise. DoorDash and contractor shall equally share filing fees and other similar and usual administrative costs, as are common to both court and administrative proceedings, but contractors' share of such fees and costs will not exceed the filing fee to file the case in a court of competent jurisdiction embracing the location of the arbitration. If required by applicable law, DoorDash shall pay any costs uniquely associated with arbitration, such as payment of the fees of the arbitrator as well as room rental. D. The arbitrator may issue orders including subpoenas to third parties to the extent permitted by law, allowing the parties to conduct discovery sufficient to allow each party to prepare their party's claims and or defenses, taking into consideration that arbitration is designed to be a speedy and efficient method for resolving disputes. For example, the parties agree that the apex doctrine shall apply and therefore preclude depositions of either party's current or former high-level officers absent a showing that the officer has unique personal knowledge of discoverable information and less burdensome discovery methods have been exhausted. E. Except as provided in the arbitration class action waiver, the arbitrator may award all remedies to which a party is entitled under applicable law and which would otherwise be available in a court of law, but shall not be empowered to award any remedies that would not have been available in a court of law for the claims presented in arbitration. The arbitrator shall apply the applicable state or federal law, or both, as is applicable. F. The arbitrator may hear motions to dismiss and or motions for summary judgment and will apply the standards of the federal rules of civil procedure governing such motions. G. The arbitrator's decision or award shall be in writing and shall include findings of fact and conclusions of law. The arbitrator may issue orders to protect the confidentiality of proprietary information, trade secrets, or other sensitive information, subject to the discretion of the arbitrator or agreement of the parties. Any person having a direct interest in the arbitration may attend the arbitration hearing. The arbitrator may exclude any non-party from any part of the hearing. Either contractor or DoorDash may apply to a court of competent jurisdiction for temporary or preliminary injunctive relief on the ground that, without such relief, the arbitration provided in this paragraph may be rendered ineffectual. 14.7 Mass filing and bellwether protocols. Please read this section carefully. If at any time 25 or more similar demands for arbitration are asserted against either party or their relative parties by the same or coordinated counsel or entities mass filing, the additional protocols set forth below shall apply. NAM's supplemental rules for mass arbitration filing shall apply if the party's dispute is deemed by NAM in its sole discretion pursuant to the NAM rules and its mutual arbitration provisions to be part of a mass filing. B. Within 5 business days of being notified by NAM that arbitration demands have been filed, any party may file a request for appointment of a procedural arbitrator with NAM to determine whether a particular demand or demands is or are part of the mass filing as defined by the NAM rules, procedures, or requirements based on that determination, and or 2, if the demands is or are categorized as part of the mass filing, whether the particular demands was or were filed in accordance with the terms of the conditions of this mutual arbitration provision, including in accordance with the informal dispute resolution procedures described above. C. Any mass filing shall be subject to a bellwether proceeding intended to reach a fair and speedy resolution of all claims, including in the mass filing. In any mass filing, NAM shall randomly select 4 demands for arbitration to proceed, and then claimants and respondents shall each select 3 demands for arbitration to proceed, for a total of 10 arbitrations, the bellwether arbitrations. While the bellwether arbitrations are adjudicated, all other demands for arbitration that are part of the mass filing shall be held in abeyance and stayed, and no party shall be responsible for paying any administrator or arbitrator fees, other than NAM's initial filing administrative fees and procedural arbitrator fees, if applicable. While the bellwether arbitrations are adjudicated, any applicable statute of limitations regarding those demands shall remain told beginning when the mass filing claimant first provided the other party with notice of its intent to initiate an informal dispute resolution conference as defined above. D. The parties shall work in good faith with the arbitrator to complete each bellwether arbitration within 120 days of its initial pre-hearing conference. E. Following the resolution of all the bellwether arbitrations, the parties shall engage in a global mediation of all remaining demands for arbitrating comprising the mass filing. The mediation shall be administered by NAM. F. If the parties are unable to resolve the remaining demands for arbitration comprising the mass filing within 30 days following the mediation, the remaining demands for arbitration comprising the mass filing shall be administered by NAM on an individual basis pursuant to the NAM rules and NAM supplemental rules for mass arbitration filings. The parties agree that these bellwether proceeding protocols are designed to achieve an overall faster, more efficient, and less costly mechanism for resolving mass filings, including the claims of contractors who are not selected for a bellwether arbitration. If any part of this paragraph 7 is found to be unenforceable, then the parties agree that part shall be severed and the remaining parts shall be enforced. Nothing in this mutual arbitration provision prevents you from making a report to or filing a claim or change with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, U.S. Department of Labor, U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, National Labor Relations Board, or Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs. Nothing in this mutual arbitration provision prevents the investigation by a government agency of any report, claim, or charge otherwise covered by this mutual arbitration provision. This mutual arbitration provision also does not prevent federal administrative agencies from adjudicating claims and awarding remedies based on those claims, even if the claims would otherwise be covered by this mutual arbitration provision. Nothing in this mutual arbitration provision prevents or excuses a party from satisfying any conditions precedent and or exhausting administrative remedies under applicable law before bringing a claim in arbitration. DoorDash will not retaliate against contractor for filing a claim with an administrative agency or for exercising rights individually or in concert with others under Section 7 of the National Labor Relations Act. Disputes between the parties that, after taking into account FAA preemption, may not be subject to pre-dispute arbitration agreement, including as provided by an act of Congress or lawful enforceable executive order, are excluded from the coverage of this mutual arbitration provision. 14.9. The NAM rules may be found at www.namadr.com / or by searching for NAM Comprehensive Rules and Procedures and NAM Supplemental Rules for Mass Arbitration Filings using a service such as www.google.com or by asking DoorDash's General Counsel to provide a copy by submitting a written request to General Counsel, 303 2nd Street, Suite 800, San Francisco, California, 94107. 14.10. New contractors' right to opt out of mutual arbitration provision. Arbitration is not a mandatory condition of contractors' contractual relationship with DoorDash, and therefore each new contractor may submit a statement notifying DoorDash that contractor wishes to opt out and not be subject to this mutual arbitration provision. If you are an existing contractor and have agreed to a prior version of this agreement with DoorDash without opting out of the mutual arbitration provision contained herein, you do not have an opportunity to opt out of this mutual. Wow, that's so confusing. Mutual arbitration provision. If you are an existing contractor and have validly opted out of the mutual arbitration provision in a prior version of the agreement, DoorDash will continue to honor your opt-out. In order to opt out, a new contractor must notify DoorDash in writing of contractor's intention to opt out by sending a letter by first-class mail to General Counsel, 303 2nd Street, South Tower, Suite 800, San Francisco, California, 94107. Any attempt to opt out by email will be ineffective. The letter must state contractor's intention to opt out. In order to be effective, contractor's opt-out letter must be postmarked within 30 days of the effective date of this agreement. The letter must be signed by contractor themselves and not by an agent or representative of contractor. The letter may opt out at most only one contractor, and letters that purport to opt out multiple contractors will not be effective as to any. No contractor or their agent or representative may effectuate an opt-out on behalf of other contractors. If contractor opts out as provided in this paragraph, contractor will not be subject to any adverse action from DoorDash as a consequence of that decision, and they may pursue available legal remedies without regard to this mutual arbitration provision. If contractor does not opt out within 30 days of the effective date of this agreement, contractor and DoorDash shall be deemed to have agreed to this mutual arbitration provision. Contractor has the right to consult with counsel of contractor's choice concerning this mutual arbitration provision or any other provision of this agreement. 14.11. Except as specified in the prior paragraph, this mutual arbitration provision supersedes any and all prior arbitration agreements between contractor and DoorDash and is the full and complete agreement relating to the formal resolution of disputes covered by this mutual arbitration provision. In the event any portion of this mutual arbitration provision is deemed unenforceable, the remainder of this mutual arbitration provision will be enforceable. The award issued by the arbitrator may be entered in any court of competent jurisdiction. Oh my gosh. Number 15, litigation class action waiver. To the extent allowed by applicable law, separate and apart from the mutual arbitration provision found in section 14, 25.1, 25.2, or 25.3, as applicable, contractor agrees that any proceeding to litigate in court any dispute arising out of or relating to this agreement, whether because contractor opted out of the mutual arbitration provision or any other reason, will be conducted solely on an individual basis, and contractor agrees not to seek to have any controversy, claim, or dispute heard as a class action, a representative action, a collective action, a private attorney general action, or in any proceeding in which contractor acts to propose or proposes to act in a representative capacity, litigation, class action waiver. Contractor further agrees that no proceeding will be joined, consolidated, or combined with any other proceeding without the prior written consent of all parties to any such proceeding. If a court of competent jurisdiction determines that all or part of this litigation class action waiver is unenforceable, unconscionable, void, or voidable, the remainder of this agreement shall remain in full force and effect. For sake of clarification only, nothing in this section shall be construed to prohibit settlements on a class-wide, collective, and/or representative basis. Proprietary rights and licenses. 16.1 All copyright database rights, trademarks, whether registered or unregistered, design rights, whether registered or unregistered, patent applications, patents, or other intellectual property rights of any nature in the DoorDash platform together with the underlying software code and any and all rights in or derived from the DoorDash platform are proprietary and owned either directly by DoorDash or by DoorDash's licensors and are protected by applicable intellectual property and other laws. Contractor agrees that they will not use such proprietary information, materials, or intellectual property rights in any way whatsoever, except for by use of the DoorDash platform to perform the contracted services in compliance with the terms of this agreement. No portion of the DoorDash platform may be produced in any form or by any means except as expressly permitted in the terms of this agreement. Contractor agrees not to modify, rent, lease, loan, sell, distribute, or create derivative works based on the DoorDash platform or any intellectual property rights therein in any manner, and contractor shall not exploit the DoorDash platform or any intellectual property rights therein in any unauthorized way whatsoever. 16.2 DoorDash hereby grants contractor a non-exclusive, non-transferable, non-sublicensable, revocable license to use the DoorDash platform solely for their lawful use to perform the contracted services in accordance with these terms of this agreement. DoorDash retains all rights, title, and interest in and to the DoorDash platform and its other intellectual property rights therein. Any such license shall terminate upon termination of this agreement. 16.3 Contractor acknowledges and agrees that any questions, comments, suggestions, ideas, feedback, or other information submissions provided by the contractor to DoorDash regarding the DoorDash platform are provided freely and shall become the sole property of DoorDash. DoorDash shall own exclusive rights of such submissions, including all intellectual property rights therein, and shall be entitled to the unrestricted use and dissemination of these submissions for any purpose, commercial or otherwise, without acknowledgement or compensation to contractor. Number 17, legal processes affecting Dasher app accounts. If legal action such as a garnishment, levy, or other state, provincial, or federal legal process is brought against contractor's Dasher app account, DoorDash will not contest on contractor's behalf any such legal process and may take action to comply with such legal process as DoorDash determines to be appropriate in the circumstances without liability to contractor. Contractor agrees that DoorDash may honor legal processes that is served personally by mail, email, or facsimile transmission at any DoorDash facility or at the office of any agent authorized by appointment or by law to receive service on behalf of DoorDash, and even if such service is insufficient under law. 17.2 If legal process is brought against contractor's Dasher app account, DoorDash may prohibit a contractor from utilizing payment options other than weekly direct deposits, prohibiting use of Fast Pay, Dasher Direct, or other payment alternatives that DoorDash may offer to contractor. Contractor shall be liable to DoorDash for any amounts received by contractor through payment options other than weekly direct deposit and otherwise would have been withheld pursuant to such legal process, and DoorDash may recoup or offset such amounts from any obligation owed by DoorDash to contractor. 17.3 Contractor acknowledges that legal process against contractor's Dasher app account may result in delays and payments to contractor. DoorDash shall not be liable to contractor on account of any losses resulting from such delay. Number 18, termination of the agreement. Contractor may terminate this agreement upon 7 days written notice. DoorDash may terminate this agreement and deactivate the contractor's Dasher app account only for the reasons set forth in the DoorDash Service Provider Platform Access Policy, which contractor expressly agrees to, or for a material breach of this agreement. Notwithstanding the foregoing, DoorDash reserves the right to temporarily remove access to the DoorDash platform for the purposes of timely investigation where fraud or abuse is suspected, including circumvention of compliance with legal process or when deemed necessary by DoorDash to protect the safety and security of DoorDash users. Wow, man. I don't know if I've ever seen a terms and conditions quite this extensive. I mean, this is unbelievable. 18.2, notwithstanding any of the provisions in this agreement, DoorDash reserves the right to modify the service provider platform access policy if in DoorDash's good faith and reasonable discretion it is necessary to do so for the sole and or effective operation of the DoorDash platform. DoorDash shall provide notice of any material changes to contractor via email. Changes to the service provider platform access policy shall be effective and binding on the parties upon contractors' continued use of the DoorDash platform following DoorDash's email notice of such modifications. Nothing will prevent contractor from attempting to negotiate an exemption from any modification to the service provider platform access policy. 18.3, contractors and DoorDash's obligations and rights arising under the mutual arbitration provision of this agreement in section 14, 25.1, 25.2, or 25.3, as applicable, shall survive termination of this agreement. Notwithstanding any other provision of this agreement, the service provider platform access policy is subject to change. Such changes shall be effective and binding on the parties upon DoorDash's provision of notice to contractor via email. Modification, number 19. How much more is there? Wow. Wow, man. I mean, I can't sit here and do this anymore. I guess I'm going to have to disagree with that. Unable to start your dash at this time. Oh.